This recording was brought to you by King's Church Christchurch, New Zealand. www.kingschurch.co.nz.
I put Darryl on the spot. I asked him to read our verse today. So you might want to turn to Acts chapter 12 if you have your Bibles here. And just before we read, I just want to read a quote to you from a book that I've been reading, Temple and Tramp for the Lord. Has anybody read this? Yeah, okay. And she says this: a missionary who turned her back on all her possessions to go to China was asked, "Are you not afraid?" as she boarded the ship. "I am afraid of only one thing," she said, "that I should be a grain of wheat, not willing to die." I read that challenged me. So we're continuing in our journey through the book of Acts. And a little bit of background. We're about 10 years on from the time that Jesus was crucified and then rose into heaven. And the last couple of weeks, Kate preached about how the gospel went to the Gentiles. And then Ken preached about how that spread into Antioch and churches are being planted throughout this area. But this story back in Acts 12 switches to Jerusalem again. And we see Peter and James and John, people that we're very familiar with, leaders of the church in Jerusalem. And we see them under persecution by another of the line of Herod. It seems to me, if you had the name Herod, your job was to persecute Christians. And there's a line of them. And this is another one of them. So I'm going to read through chapter 12 of Acts. And down.
Morning, church. Yeah. It was about this time that King Herod arrested some who belonged to the church, intending to persecute them. He had James, the brother of John, put to death with the sword. When he saw that this pleased the Jews, he proceeded to seize Peter also. This happened during the feast of unleavened bread. After arresting him, he put him in prison, handing him over to be guarded by 4 squads of 4 soldiers each. Herod intended to bring him out for public trial after the Passover. So Peter was kept in prison, but the church was earnestly praying to God for him. The night before Herod was to bring him to trial, Peter was sleeping between 2 soldiers, bound with 2 chains, and sentries stood guard at the entrance. Suddenly an angel of the Lord appeared, and a light shone in the cell. He struck Peter on the side and woke him. "Quick, get up," he said, and the chains fell off Peter's wrists. Then the angel said to him, "Put on your clothes and sandals." And Peter did so. "Wrap your cloak around you and follow me," the angel told him. Peter followed him out of the prison, but he had no idea what the angel was doing was really happening. He thought he was seeing a vision. They passed the first and second guards and came to the iron gate leading to the city. It opened for them by itself, and they went through it. When they walked the length of one street, suddenly the angel left him. Then Peter came to himself and said, "Now I know without a doubt that the Lord sent his angel and rescued me from Herod's clutches and from everything the Jewish people were anticipating." When this had dawned on him, he went to the house of Mary, the mother of John, also called Mark, where many people had gathered and were praying. Peter knocked at the outer entrance, and the servant girl named Rhoda came to answer the door. When she recognized Peter's voice, she was so overjoyed, she ran back without opening it and exclaimed, "Peter is at the door." "You're out of your mind," they told her. When she kept insisting that it was so, they said it must be his angel. But Peter kept on knocking, and when they opened the door and saw him, they were astonished. Peter motioned with his hand for them to be quiet and described how the Lord had brought him out of prison. "Tell James and the brothers about this," he said, and then he left for another place. In the morning, there was no small commotion among the soldiers as to what had become of Peter. After Herod had a thorough search made for him and did not find him, he cross-examined guards and ordered that they be executed.
What a great job to be Have you ever played the game along the lines of one of these is not like the other? I know there's a song out there. It goes a bit like this. I say a list of things, You tell me which one is the odd one out, okay? And it's quite possible you'll have a different reason to me, but here we go. So, and I'm specifically starting off with stuff which I believe our young people here are going to give us clues to. In fact, this first question is just for you guys here, okay? So here we go. Mars, Moon, Mercury, and Venus. Which one's the odd one out? The Moon. Why, Sam?
Nice. Yeah.
You must have a great science. Try this one. Clouds, sea, river, snow, and salt. Someone else. Clouds, sea, river, snow, and salt.
Salt.
Salt, because
It's not water.
that's right, it's not made of water. Okay, this is a tricky one. This is open to everybody here, okay? First one, put your hand up, okay? Leopard seal, killer whale, emperor penguin, polar bear, and kangaroo. Jonathan?
That's easy, it's kangaroo.
Actually, I'm afraid it's not. Penguin, why is that, Beth? That's right, and the emperor penguin is a bird, okay? And the last one, okay? Just throw this in there. Cities. Bern, Bonn, Bucharest, Belgrade, and Bratislava. Yes, Becky. Bonn, why is it Bonn? It's not a capital.
Nice.
Used to be a capital of Germany, West Germany, but now it's Berlin. So there we are. Okay. So now let's turn our attention to the story, and in particular, James and Peter. Firstly, and let's again encourage you just to raise your hand or just call out, what are the similarities that you see between James and Peter? Don't be shy. Someone had to say it. Yes, you can. It's a piece of both men. Okay, let's both choose. Good. Yes. Yes.
Preachers.
Preachers.
Both
Yes.
disciples.
Sorry?
Both disciples.
Both disciples. Yes. What other things can you say?
Witnesses to the resurrection.
Yes. Yes, that's right.
Are they both fishermen?
Sorry, mate? 12. Yes, part of the 12, yes.
Are they both fishermen?
Both fishermen, yes, that's right. Anything else?
Witnesses to the transfiguration.
Yes, both were there at the transfiguration. Very good. That's good. Anything else? What's that? Yes, both gave their lives up. Yes, exactly. Anything else?
Both have books of the Bible named after them.
Yes, it did too.
True.
Well done. Okay. And of course here, both arrested by Herod and imprisoned. And now the difference. What's the big difference? James died, and in this case, Peter lives. And the question is, why? Why does Peter escape, and why does James perish? For that matter, why was Stephen martyred and John the Baptist before that? I mean, I've thought about this. Jesus knew that John the Baptist was in prison. He could have rescued him, but John the Baptist perished. How does this work? Why? What do we do with the question why? I think why is a very valid question. I think it's a legitimate question, one that we'll all grapple with throughout our lifetime. When we're listening to those who are grieving and suffering, we cannot ignore the question why, and we cannot dismiss it with a tried answer. The question why tests my heart and my understanding. It calls me to trust God when I want to take control of the situation that is overtaking me. It's a question echoed through the Bible as humans with a very limited understanding try to understand a world that we have so little comprehension of. And the God who says in Isaiah 55, "For my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways. As the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, my thoughts than your thoughts." So I'm not alone when I ask this question, and nor are you. But the Bible's not silent on this. And in particular, as I read over these passages, I started to sense what God was saying about suffering, and in particular about persecution. And so what I want to do is just read a few of these verses that I found, and I want to invite you just to at the same time, just to hear what God is saying. So in Matthew 5, Jesus said, "Blessed are those who are persecuted for righteousness, for theirs is the kingdom of God." Jesus said to Peter, "Very truly, I tell you, when you were younger, you dressed yourself and went where you wanted. But when you are old, you will stretch out your hands. Someone else will dress you and lead you where you do not want to go." Jesus said this to indicate the kind of death by which Peter would glorify God. Then Paul wrote, "Not only so, but we also glory in our sufferings, because we know that suffering produces perseverance, perseverance character, and character hope." In the book of Revelation, they say they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb, the word of their testimony. They did not love their lives so much as to shrink from death. And then Peter, this very Peter who sat in the dungeon right now, he wrote a note. "Dear friends, do not be surprised at the fiery ordeal that has come on you to test you, as though something strange were happening. But rejoice inasmuch as you participate in the sufferings of Christ, so that you may be overjoyed when his glory is revealed. If you are insulted because of the name of Christ, you are blessed, for the Spirit of glory and of God rests on you. So then, those who suffer according to God's will should commit themselves to their faithful Creator and continue to do good." That is 1 Peter. So what can we learn? I've got 3 things, surprisingly. Firstly, we are in a fight. There always has been and there always will be opposition. When I first became a Christian, I was in my 20s. I'd gone through university and I'd given Christians a hard time myself, And now the roles were reversed and I had become a Christian myself. This was my first year of teaching. And it was a honeymoon at first. I just felt that everything was brighter. It sounds like a cliche, but actually everything was. Everything just seemed more clear. I had a smile on my face, which I couldn't wipe off. I wasn't aware of it. My brother once said, "What's going on? You've got a smile on your face, And it was a honeymoon period. But then I started to realize that not everyone was pleased about the decision that I had made. This sort of started to play out with people who were close to me at school, as I was a teacher there. And when I got baptized, that seemed to polarize things. And I started to encounter a sense of opposition, which I really wasn't, used to or expecting. It caught me a little bit by surprise. And this sort of thing can happen to us all and will happen to us all. And it can start off in subtle ways. It can be like you just get excluded from things. And I don't know if you've experienced this, but you just find yourself being excluded from maybe social things. You feel that people aren't so ready to talk to you. You feel there's a distancing that's going on. And in fact, sometimes you feel that as you share, it's making other people uncomfortable. And then we also find that sometimes we just come into these places where we just need to be up against everything. And I think this is kind of this is the outworking of the fact that we have someone who is in opposition to us. Satan is called the accuser of the brethren. He's the one who fights against what God is doing in our lives. And I want to encourage you in those moments and in those times when it's harder, when it seems hard, I want to encourage you not to shrink back from what you believe. There is a lizard that changes colour with every surrounding. It blends in so that it won't be noticed. What's it called? That's right. God has not called us to be chameleons. He's called us to be light in the midst of darkness. John says this: "Light has come into the world, but people loved darkness instead of light because their deeds were evil. Everyone who does evil hates the light and will not come into the light for fear that their deeds will be exposed. But whoever lives by the truth comes into the light, so that it may be plainly seen that what they have done has been done in the sight of God." There will always be opposition, to living for God. One of the ways, this is one of the ways we know that God is real. In fact, this is one of the things that proved to me that God was doing something in me, was when I actually started to encounter this. And it's interesting, isn't it? We encounter opposition. And young people, you're going to encounter it too in school. You're going to find it. Yeah? You're going to find it. Even in Christian schools, you're going to find that it takes something. It costs to stand up for doing the right thing. Yeah? And sometimes the opposition that we come against is hardest from the people that are closest to us. And we just have to understand that this is part of the cost of walking in the light. So that's the first thing. We're going to encounter opposition. But we're not to be a chameleon. We're not to be one that wants to blend into the background. God's called us to be light, and that's our true calling. Second point I want to make is that God is glorified as we take a stand. You see, as we sang today, God is always at work. He's always moving in the people that you are encountering. And He's never taken by surprise. And He's able to work through our suffering. And He's able to work in the people that feel threatened because of what God is doing in our lives. You see, suffering, I've discovered, is part of the plan, God's plan of redemption on this earth. Persecution is part of God's plan for us and for the world. I don't understand it completely, but it seems to be the case. Peter was martyred, as Judith said. So was Paul. And for that matter, most, if not all, of the apostles. And this has gone on down through the ages, right to this very day. And I want to read you a little excerpt from this book here, which I just picked up one morning, and it just struck me. For those who don't know, Corrie ten Boom was a remarkable lady who basically a Christian whose journey took her through the concentration camp at Ravensbrück. And she came out the other side. She survived. Her sister didn't. But she went on to become a wonderful witness and testimony of God's grace throughout the world. And she writes here that she went to a place in Africa, a little country where an enemy had overtaken the government. There was great opposition against the Christians by the new government. The first night I was there, some of the native Christians were commanded to come to the police station to be registered. When they arrived, they were arrested, and during the night they were secretly executed. The next day, the same thing happened with other Christians. The third day, it was the same. By that time, the entire district realized that Christians were being systematically murdered. It was the intent of the new government to eradicate them all, men, women, and children, much as Hitler tried to eradicate all the Jews. I was to speak in a little church on Sunday morning. The people came, but I could see fear and tension written on every face. All during the service, they looked at each other. Their eyes were asking the same question. Will this one I'm sitting beside be the next one to be killed? Will I be the next one? She goes on to say how she shared that God was with her in the prison camp and how God gave her great courage just when she needed it. She said this, when I was a little girl, I went to my father and said, Daddy, I'm afraid that I will never be strong enough to be a martyr for Jesus Christ. Tell me, Father said, when you take a train trip from Haarlem to Amsterdam, when do I give you the money for the ticket? Is it 3 weeks before? No, Daddy, you give me the money for the ticket just before you get on the train. That is right, my father said, and so it is with God's strength. Our wise Father in heaven knows when you're going to need these things too. Today, you do not need the strength to be a martyr, but as soon as you are called upon for the honor of facing death for Jesus, He will supply the strength you need just in time. And she goes on to share that story with those friends of hers in that little church in Africa. And the mood in that church changed and faces started to lift. And she said here, I could see the worried, anxious looks on the faces. Oh, that's right. She's just talking about how she actually shared in the prison camp herself, and she actually been sharing to some prisoners, and one of the prison guards had come right up behind her and was just standing there, and she knew that this person was there, but she just felt amazing strength and peace just to share from the gospel. She knew that being found with the Bible was basically serving the sentence of death. But this prison guard stood behind her, and they sang a Christian song, And then the prison guard said, can you sing another one? You know, and they actually befriended that prison guard right there. And as she shared the story to the African church, they also were encouraged. And it says here, the faces before me broke into broad grins, gone were the wrinkles of fear and anxiety. She says here, I don't know how many were killed that week, but someone told me that more than half of those who had attended that service met a martyr's death and thus received a martyr's crown. I know it's a challenging story. It's possibly not something that we want to come and listen to on a Sunday morning here in New Zealand. But I want to say that this is part of the gospel. This is part of what it is to be a Christian. It is to stand for your faith, and it is to sometimes pay the ultimate price. Jim Elliot, another famous missionary, who also gave his life, wrote this. He said, "He is no fool who gives what he cannot keep to gain what he cannot lose." I'll say it again. He is no fool who gives what he cannot keep to gain what he cannot lose. There's something about standing in front of fear, I guess, and offering yourself, your whole self, the very most precious thing that you can, to Jesus in that place. I think, in a way, it's an incredible witness of the power of the gospel, that we will come and lay down our lives in love, not because we have been commanded to, not because of some sort of external coercion, but we will freely and honestly give our lives to Jesus. And I think God is glorified. I'm sure that Satan would say, well, he's only doing that because of whatever that. But actually, when we actually lay down our lives willingly, God is on it. And I think it's amazing that people have faced this and done it. And it challenges me. I'm reading this, and I'm reading this here, and I'm thinking I have no qualification to read this, but I just, because I have not experienced what it is to have to do that. But I know that all of us are challenged every day to stand for Jesus. We are always challenged, and there will always be a cost. And I just want to encourage you, that cost, yes, it's there to pay, but as you do it, God is so honored in what you do, and you feel so strengthened and so much God's presence. So I said three things. I said one thing, there is opposition in this world, okay? And so this is what's going to happen. Secondly, God is glorified when we take a stand. And thirdly, I want to say that suffering also does something in us. It purifies our heart. And there's another verse that Peter, and I mean, what a person to speak about. Peter said this. He said, "In all this you greatly rejoice, though now for a little while you may have to suffer grief in all kinds of trials." And Peter knew what he was talking about, didn't he? "These have come so that the proven genuineness of your faith, of greater worth than gold, which perishes, even though refined by fire, may result in praise, glory, and honor when Jesus is revealed." What's he saying here? He's saying that our faith, which is more precious than gold, is purified when we go through suffering. And gold, as you know, is a soft metal, and the way they used to purify it was they would melt it. And there would be impurities in between those molecules of gold and those atoms of gold. But as they melted it and it broke down the bonds, Heidi and I are learning about this right now, as those atoms sort of parted, those impurities would be separated. And those impurities would rise to the top, and then they would actually skim the impurities off. And what would you be left? The pure gold. That's how they did it. And what God is saying here is that when we go through these fiery sort of ordeals, something happens. The things in our lives which are the impurities, which are hiding within our lives, right in the midst of our hearts, somehow God releases these things. He's come to the surface. And what God does is He purifies our faith. And He says that is more precious than anything. And I don't know if you've ever thought about that, but God values your faith as incredibly precious. Remember, He bought it and He's given it. And He says that Jesus is the author of that too. So He's actually leading you in that faith. He's building that. A famous pastor called Richard Wurmbrand said this: "It must be understood that there are no nominal, half-hearted, lukewarm Christians in Russia and China. Now, he wrote this decades back when Russia and China were incredibly closed communist regimes. He said this: the price Christians pay is far too great. The next point to remember is that persecution has always produced a better Christian, a witnessing Christian, a soul-winning Christian. Communist persecution has backfired and produced serious, dedicated Christians, such as rarely seen in free lands. These people cannot understand how anyone can be a Christian and not want to win every soul they meet. And it's amazing, but the stories of the underground church in China have just been amazing. When communist China came in, and basically the church had to go underground because of persecution. But when missionaries were allowed back into China years and years later, they were amazed at an incredibly powerful, life-giving church. Probably, I don't know, maybe 10% of China is radically born-again Christians who are willing to lay down their lives for the sake of the gospel. And then I read a marvelous story just last year. In fact, I saw a video of the church in Iran. And you think of Iran, you think, what would it be like to be a Christian in Iran? Okay, I think it would be incredibly tough. But did you know that probably the underground church in Iran is the fastest growing church in the world? And that, and it's actually just small groups of people meeting, not in churches, but in homes. And one of the things that caught me was that this is basically what they do. They'll get together and they'll pray, and they'll go out on the streets, and they'll just ask God to lead them to someone who will have an open heart to God, knowing full well that if they miss it and they end up speaking to the wrong person, they could easily be in prison. And so they will actually love, hug their wives and husbands before the day, knowing that they may not actually see them again. I was just really blown away by that. And this is a church which is growing and growing. So, how do we respond? Just finish this off. The first thing I think is let's just be really open to God, to let Him shape our thinking here. Right? This life is not about our comfort, and I need to be reminded of this again and again. This life that we live on this earth is not about our comfort. There is a bigger picture here. It's a picture of eternity. And Paul said, "For me to live is Christ, and to die is gain." That there is value in what we're doing here on earth, but there is an eternity. We are, as if we have accepted Jesus into our lives, we have already entered eternal life, and that life is something that just does not change, whether we live here or whether we die. Because when we die, we go to be with Jesus face to face. So for me to live as Christ and to die as gain, I need to be reminded of that. The second thing I think we can learn from this is that we fight for what we value. Notice how the church responded to the news that Peter was in prison. What did they do? They called a prayer meeting. That's how you fight. We learn to pray as a family, for our family here, and also for our brothers and sisters who are suffering for their faith right across this world. You see, it says there in Acts 12 that the church was praying earnestly. And there was a family that was praying there. There was Rhoda, the servant girl. Remember, they said that Rhoda, she went to the door. She looked at Peter. Okay, she was part of the household. She may have been a servant, but she was obviously part of this household and praying. She was so excited that she ran back and said, "Peter's at the door," with just leaving him there, which was crazy, And they wouldn't believe her, which is crazy. They're praying for Peter. I don't know what they were praying for Peter. Were they praying for his deliverance and escape? Because he has just been delivered and escaped. And they sort of, "Oh, no, we don't believe you." Just like, Jesus is risen from the dead. "Oh, we don't believe you." Just one of those things. But I think this is an amazing picture. There was John's mother, Mary, many others. It's a picture of whānaumatanga, that sense of belonging, where we've all got each other's back. The whole idea of whānau and being together. Now, God puts us into families, but one of Satan's strategies is to isolate us, to separate us, to make us think that we can live by ourselves, to value independence, to be islands. But the problem is that when we need that support, we don't have that connection, that relational family. We've got our backs. But James and Peter had that family. They had that praying family. And we also have a praying family. I just want to say, it's been a pleasure and a privilege to be part of the church here and to see the place that prayer has. We have a prayer network, and whenever anyone is facing hardship or suffering, we post that on there to Facebook sort of thing, and a whole bunch of people start praying, and you'd be amazed. You might stick that thing on the Facebook thing, and within minutes, someone's saying, I'm praying. And I would really encourage you, if you'd like to be, you can get onto that list, and if you want to know how to do that, just see Carol, because Carol has just got such a heart for prayer, and I also want to say that Carol and the team are praying for us and for the church every Tuesday. Carol's got such a heart for intercession and for prayer. So please, join us in that. Let's just remember that. And I want to finish with something quite practical. I get emails from something called Open Doors, which is a sort of a ministry to the Christians who are suffering in the suffering church, the church which is in North Korea, Afghanistan, Somalia, Sudan, Pakistan, Eritrea, Libya, Iraq, and Iran. Those are the top 10 persecuted countries. I just want to read you a couple of things. You might say, well, we don't hear very much about this in the news.
This video recording is brought to you by King's Church, Christchurch, New Zealand. www.kingschurch.co.nz